guys, I hope everyone is doing well out there. So in this video, I want to accomplish two goals. One, I want to give you guys just a brief statement on where I think the market is at. I have some positive, optimistic news, I think, to report on that. And then secondly, I want to have one video, and I think after making this video, we'll probably take a break from talking about this on this channel, because I want this channel to be something separate in and of itself that people can really enjoy and appreciate, and not just a funnel for my Patreon. But I do want to talk about exactly what my Patreon is, exactly what we're doing in the Patreon, because I'm getting emails about it, and instead of having to answer all those emails and talk about specifically what's in the Patreon, or why, give a sales pitch for why they should sign up for it or why they shouldn't sign up for it, rather just do it in a video. So starting with the news on the market, I'm very encouraged by certain things I'm seeing, by certain resiliency in some of the prices that I'm seeing on a number of vintage items. As you guys know, I've been buying and picking up a couple of items which I've shown, a couple like PSA 10 first edition jungles I showed on the channel. I'm encouraged by the uptick in prices that I'm seeing from sets like that. Cards are either sort of stabilizing around a certain price point, or I'm seeing a little bit of a bump up in prices on certain things. That is, although it's too soon to say that that's going to be a significant trend line, over the near future, it does show that we're probably over the worst of it on anything where there isn't going to be lots and lots of supply to come back in terms of a retrace. To me, I think that's a gamble and a guess, and everything is speculation around that. But if I had to guess, that's what I'm thinking. It makes me a little more comfortable to take some more risks in this type of environment, understanding that there are risks and making sure you can afford them, to buy some cards that you might really want from your collection, particularly in set cards. What I've been talking about, and I mentioned this about a week and a half ago, I think, on the podcast that I'm doing, the Pocket Change podcast that I'm doing, that I think that there was really a move from set cards. Set cards went up a lot, and there was a move from set cards to sort of rarity, and now we're seeing a little bit of a move back from rarity to certain set cards, a little bit of a dip on certain rare items. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that there's a relationship between these things, but I think that overall that's very good for the market, that these set cards are stabilizing, and the prices are stabilizing. And I had some fears, or concerns, not for the long run. I mean, I always have fears and concerns, and I always try to think worst case scenario and prepare for that, because I try to be very conservative and mitigate my risks and my downside. But realistically speaking, I felt like holding these Pokemon cards and putting more money into this type of thing is probably a good investment and a good bet that will pay off into the future, given the changing demographics of Pokemon. But I was a little bit concerned about how far we were going to slide this year or over the last couple of years, because, as I've talked a lot about on this channel, I really had concerns about who was buying these cards this year, and concerns about the stickiness of the individuals in the hobby. And I was concerned that when people could no longer make any gains, or could no longer likely make very huge gains in a very short amount of time, that a number of people might lose interest, and a number of the higher end people speculating on these items might lose interest. I was also concerned, to be honest, with what I deemed as a potential fairly youthful portion of the market, people who maybe got introduced to it through Logan Paul and some of these other streamers, who might have sort of been in it more for a fad or a short-term excitement, and maybe been a little impulsive and not had too much experience with investing before, and kind of jumped in, bought a lot of stuff, and that they would sort of panic and not be able to hold through down periods and or periods where you have very limited growth, which I do think is, potentially likely. Once we find sort of a new, probably, price point in here for a number of these things, I would expect that we're going to see quite a bit of stability, price stability, for the next few years, until maybe there's some sort of other catalyst. There may never be a catalyst quite like this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Pokemon never has another year like this year. outside of maybe some sort of humongous like movie, success, or some sort of thing. But given all of the factors, from people being inside to the stimulus checks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So overall, I guess my summary with that is I'm impressed by the resilience of some of these prices. I'm really happy to see that how much people really like these things, how much people believe in this market, and enjoy these cards, and that makes me feel more secure and confident in putting some more money into this market myself going forward. What I would say though is that and I always say this, but really do not have that. Don't be guided and driven in almost all cases by a fear of missing out, outside of maybe extremely unusual, kind of rare once in a lifetime items. Although there are only probably a couple of items like that in the hobby. Outside of that, for most of us, I think it's really about patience. I would right now would be a really good time to look for really good deals and look for cards that have really fallen a lot in price, but still have those really good rarity and long-term demand fundamentals. That's what I did with buying those jungle cards, for example, and a number. Those are the ones I've shown, and a number of other cards that I'm not showing, that I haven't shown on the channel. I'm also buying a lot of non-Pokemon things in markets that are also seeing a similar sort of stabilizing, and I'm seeing some strong indicators that I like to see. Sports card market is having the same sort of thing. I think a little bit of a bump back, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all of the really good news. As far as Patreon, I just wanted to let you guys know what it is, because I'm getting a lot of questions about it. So the Patreon is basically what we do each month. Is we start with analytics, where I go over some data that I think is important. In the first month, we looked in every single Pokemon set from Wizards of the Coast through, I believe, maybe Vivid Voltage, something like that, and we looked at the amount that has been graded so far, and then the amount that has been graded within the last week, few months, year, to get a sense of how many cards are out there in the world of each of these sets right now, which is very important for determining scarcity or lack of scarcity of an item, which is going to greatly impact prices in the short term. And then looking at the long term of the speed at which more of these cards are being graded is going to be very important to determine probably where prices are going to go within at least the near future. With sets that are having a lot, and specific cards within sets that are having a lot more graded, it's going to take a continued increase in demand for those cards not to go down in price. It's just simple supply and demand. So I think that's very useful. So we start with that. This month we did we did sealed products. So we looked at the prices of every booster box in English. And then we looked at key cards and the prices of PSA 10 key cards in those sets to compare and see kind of if there were any sort of interesting things between, one box having very expensive cards or very inexpensive cards in PSA 10. So, looking at, like, does one box sell for a lot, but the cards inside and the expected value is very low, or there are boxes where the expected value is actually quite high, but the price is low. Why is that? Is it because of the rarity of the box, the good lookingness of the box, the separate collectability of the box, etc., etc. So I think that stuff is, if you enjoy those types of conversations, if you enjoy those type of deeper dives, then you're probably going to see on YouTube for the most part. That might be of interest to you. Then we go into a long question and answer period, and I'm really trying to move this into a discussion where people bring questions to the group, and I'll start by answering them or suggesting some things, and then I open it up for other people to share. I really want it to be it's a live Zoom experience where we can actually see each other, and I can hear your voice, and other people in the room can hear your voice. And the idea of that is to both help you build community and actually build relationships with people, which I think is very important, both from a financial investing perspective and also from an enjoyment and fun perspective of having friends in the hobby and building relationships. So I think there's benefit there. And I also think that we all benefit a lot more from hearing from many experienced voices and or unexperienced voices, but just hearing people's opinions and takes on things. So we're going to continue to evolve that. But what it looks like now is everyone gets to ask questions that they want to ask, whether they can come to the live or not. And then I answer them. And as a group, people kind of chime in and we have a little bit of discussion. And then at the end of it, we open the floor up for more discussion around some specific topics. And so each month we'll probably have some specific topics. All of this stuff is going to be, is potentially changeable. But that's the format right now, because I'm just going to continue to get feedback from everyone who's interested and see what they like, what they didn't like, and continue to try to tweak it and make it something that people look forward to and enjoy. So the price for that is $10 a month. That really pays for, all the work I do for coming up with the analytics, the time it takes to do that, the leading the discussion, and using some of my teaching and group therapy type skills to lead a discussion with a number of people. So I think it's hopefully an affordable price that people who are very interested in this sort of stuff would feel, that it wouldn't break the bank or wouldn't put too much strain on anyone. What I would say is I think it's really for people who are really, as in very, very into this stuff. And I think if you're not like extremely into this stuff and or you just feel like you have enough free content on YouTube, I totally understand that. I think I'm trying to create a Patreon that I would sign up for myself. Like if another content creator was doing the work of like diving into all these analytics and leading a discussion, which is hard and it takes real work to do that, and energy and time. I would love to sign up for that and just have them do all the work. And then for $10, I can just like hang out and chill and speak when I want to speak and not speak when I want to speak. So if any other content creators want to create something like that, I'm down to join that. So that's where I'm at with all that stuff. Again, only sign up for it if it's something that you can afford, something that you would enjoy doing, or something, or if you want to support me and want to support my vision of trying to grow that bigger and bigger. I have some grand ideas of maybe bringing some other speakers in, paying some speakers, maybe even like doing some, lectures, or I don't know, there's so many things that we could do with sort of an online convention where we talk and share knowledge and all these sorts of things. And the more people we get involved, the cheaper that we can then make it for each person, which is the goal. So I'm very much hoping to never have to raise the price. That's where we're at with all of that. So we will see how it continues to go. And if anyone has any feedback in the comments or in general, I will leave it there. So, thank you all so much for the people who have signed up for that. I think we have like 147 people. It's really awesome. We usually have about like 35 people at the height come to the live stream itself and participate in that conversation. So, we're doing something that has not been done in this space before. And so when you try something new, there are going to be failures and there are going to be setbacks and there are going to be things that people don't like or that it's not worth it. And I'm just going to try to adapt. And I love challenges and I love trying to do things that other people don't do, and trying to create things that maybe other people haven't haven't thought of, or that it's not, and that maybe there's a decent chance of failure. so we will see how that goes. And let me see what else. I guess that's everything for today. So to summarize, I'm feeling really positive about the Pokemon card market. I think that there's enough upside at this point, and I'm feeling enough price resistance on certain things that I would cautiously think it's a little bit, I feel a little bit less anxious about buying, and I personally am buying quite a bit, and I'm taking that risk. Now, that doesn't mean that that's going to pay off, and as always, this stuff is risky, and cardboard, these are not necessities in people's lives, so they depend on people really wanting them and valuing them. But as I said before, now that there are less sure returns coming, and there's more of a fear of actually losing money, the fact that people are still willing to come in and buy these items, the psychology of that makes me much more confident in the current market and in the long term of the market. And I'm going to make a video on this, I think, because it deserves a whole separate video. But there's this idea of time in the market versus timing the market. And it's a little bit of a, it's a good discussion. You know, I saw Scott Pratt do a video on it. It's something I hear PokeKnives say. They both, what they say on this, I agree with their general takes and their assessments. And what really smart, good investing looks like is you're doing both of those things constantly. And so I want to have a discussion where it's a little bit of a false separation, because you can both spend time in the market for a lot of your items, but you can also sell them at some point and try to time when to sell those items, when to put it into other items to hold, and what items to really hold for a very long time and what items to not hold for that long. And I think that is what investing is, and that's how you're going to be most successful. But I think for newer people, and I think people who don't have as much experience in investing in particular, that sentiment and phrase is helpful, because oftentimes when you try to time things, you actually do the opposite of what you should, right? You panic when actually the market is overly negative, and you get irrationally exuberant on the high points. And so if you try to time things, a lot of people, if they're not practiced in actually going against some of those instincts, you're actually going to sell at the worst point and buy at the worst point. You know, you'll sell at the bottom and buy at the top. And so I think that's where that phrase comes in. But if you really want to, I think, maximize your success, you're really doing a combination of those things. And it's why I didn't buy for 6 months, but I held a bunch of stuff, and now I'm starting to buy again now, and really started to buy heavily starting a few weeks ago, because I felt both like there was a enough of a sort of stabilizing happening, but also enough still sort of irrational pessimism and negativity. That combination made me feel really good about the prices as an attractive point to take a risk and to put my bet. Here's a place where I'm willing to kind of put my money back into certain items for the long term, hoping to hold those items for a number of years, understanding that it might take 3, 4, 5 years for those items to go up significantly. Now, I've been fortunate with some of them already have gone up $1,000 or $2,000 based on the last sale. That could have happened the other way. I could have bought something and then it could have retraced another $500,000 too. I was aware of that. And so I think that's where I'm at with those things right now, and what I would encourage people to consider, understanding that it's all a risk. Obviously, not a financial advisor, and these are just my opinions. So take them for what they are. So thank you all so much for watching this video, this ramble, and I will see you guys. I'm going to try to do a live stream this week. I won't be able to do it Sunday, so I'm going to try to do it maybe Saturday. I might have to do it like early next week. Apologies, but we'll get back to doing that. And otherwise, hope everyone is doing good out there and enjoying collecting and investing. All right, take care. Bye-bye.